Well, time now for me to serve you the news. And in our first story, the Central Regional Minister is calling for collaborative efforts devoid of partisan interest to sustain the Green Ghana agenda. Speaking at the commemorative tree planting exercise, which began at the Central Regional Coordinating Council in Cape Coast, the regional minister, Afenyo-Markin, emphasized the need for individual commitment to the environmental sustainability agenda. He urged Ghanaians to eschew destructive practices that continue to harm the nation's forests. There's more in this report.
The Central Regional Coordinating Council in Cape Coast was one among 3 selected locations at the event held at the Coordinating Council. The Central Regional Minister, Afenyo-Markin, advised Ghanaians to be non-partisan and politically neutral in ensuring the success of the Tree for Life initiative.
Let all participate and in taking personal interest in this activity. So it shouldn't be political. It shouldn't be somebody's business. It shouldn't be, an institutional, some institution like Forestry Commission. It should be personal. I think the churches must come on board, because our practices have been that we are going to plant 1 tree, but by the end of the year, you might have destroyed 200 trees. I can say that if we stop growing trees and begin to protect what we have already, we'll be doing very well than even attempting to spend huge monies to grow trees, because our destructive activities are so many, and we need to stop that.
Emmanuel Owusu-Kwantabisa, the Central Regional Manager of the Forestry Commission, shared details about the exercise in the Central Region.
The targets for the Central Region under the various modules, as I've mentioned, include the establishment of 700 hectares of forest plantation under the modified Tonja system, the distribution of 100,000 seedlings for amenity planting. I would implore all of us, let us come together to grow trees, to restore our forests. Let us come together to grow trees, to restore our degraded lands, and let us come together to grow trees to restore our water bodies. Let us make the Tree for Life reforestation initiative succeed. Together, we will win.
The Deputy Regional Manager in charge of the Cape Coast Forest District, Nane Fiabrenya-Hodibes, appealed to Ghanaians and foreigners to support the cause.
We encourage all Ghanaians or foreign nationals within the country, and especially Central Region, to actively support the planting of seedlings. You can have, we have seedling availability within the premises of the regional and district office of the Central Forestry Commission. You come and then take a seedling and then plant and make sure you nurture it till it grows.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Lissal reports for Joy News.
Now, Car Power Ship Ghana, in collaboration with the Forestry Commission and the Ghana Navy, has launched a bold reforestation initiative, planting over 3,000 trees to combat climate change and restore degraded landscapes. Now, the exercise, held in commemoration of World Environment Day, stands as a growing symbol of the country's commitment to environmental sustainability.
Events brought together government officials, corporate partners, and security agencies, all sounding the alarm on the state of Ghana's environment and the urgent need to act.
Ghana stands at a very critical moment with the menace of Galamsey and its unfortunate impact on our environment. Therefore, this year's theme speaks to the urgent task we face as a nation and as a global community, restoring what has been lost, healing what has been harmed, and renewing our commitment to the protection of the natural environment upon which all life depends. Across Ghana, our landscapes bear the marks of deforestation, mining, bushfires, and unsustainable land use. But we are not without hope as a people. Through collective effort, strategic investment, and community engagement, degraded lands can be transformed into productive farms, green belts, water-protecting forests, and thriving ecosystems. Tree planting such as what we are undertaking today is not merely symbolic. It is a declaration of intent. It signifies our resolve to reverse the damage and scourge, and then secure the future of generations yet unborn.
Ghana loses thousands of hectares of forest cover each year, but officials say initiatives like Tree for Life programs signal hope. At the heart of the effort is collaboration.
Today is not just ceremonial observance, it is a reaffirmation of our collective responsibility to protect, preserve, and replenish the very environment that sustains us all. At Car Partnership Ghana, our mission is to deliver power to Ghana, but we firmly believe that true power is only meaningful when it is sustainable. That is why we have embedded environmental stewardship into our social investment, taking deliberate steps over the past 3 years to continue to Ghana's green recovery. We are proud to share that we have planted over 11,000 trees in strategic forest reserve across the country.
A recent report estimates that while 15 billion trees are cut down annually across the globe, only 1.8 billion are replanted. A shortfall, environmentalists warn, is unsustainable.
The theme for the occasion, restoring degraded landscapes, is apt because as a region, we are unfortunately affected by illegal and unsustainable mining, leading to degraded lands in almost every municipality or district. We must embrace the Tree for Life initiative and lead it.
One tree at a time, Ghana is reclaiming its green future. For Joy News, in Afenyo-Markin, Takoradi.
Well, from tree planting, let's talk about plastic pollution, which is fast becoming a silent threat to Ghana's mineral wealth, disrupting mining operations, contaminating vital resources, and degrading fragile ecosystems. In Afenyo-Markin, one of the country's most mineral-rich districts, the plastic menace is intensifying, posing serious risks to both economic productivity and environmental health.
From contaminated water sources to degraded soil quality, plastic waste is choking the ecosystem that sustains mining.
As our municipality is blessed with abundant natural resources, we faced a more urgent and dire situation which calls for immediate action. Hence, we had to initiate action before the national launch. We must therefore rise to the challenge of protecting the environment, or the very environment that sustains us. This critical theme resonates with our collective responsibility to protect the environment. I am thankful to Ghana Goldfields Limited for partnering with the Assembly to host this event. Your commitment to environmental sustainability is commendable, and I use this opportunity to appreciate you today.
Despite being a major contributor to Ghana's mineral economy, Afenyo-Markin is losing grounds to pollution. Stakeholders are calling for urgent collaboration between companies, communities, and governments.
This is not just pollution, it is an existential crisis, one that demands immediate and collective action. As a leading player in Ghana's mining industry, Goldfields is not aloof about these dangers. We are strategic about our actions to ensure we implement solutions that can sustainably end plastics pollution in our operational areas and our host communities. At our mine, we have implemented a policy aimed at significantly reducing single-use plastics while working towards 100% recycling of plastic waste. This aligns with our commitment to minimize the adverse impact of our activities on the environment and our stakeholders.
To support waste management efforts, Goldfields Ghana Foundation has donated 10 skip containers to the Municipal Assembly as a gesture aimed at reinforcing corporate commitments to environmental sustainability.
In our next story, the Vice-Chancellor of the SDDomo University, Professor Emmanuel K. Derbele, has urged the public to plant trees to help combat climate change. Speaking at the launch of a campus tree planting initiative in partnership with the Global Shea Alliance, he highlighted the environmental benefits of afforestation. The project aims at planting over 5,000 trees in its first phase, with a long-term target of 70,000. Joy News' Rafiq Salam now reports from WA.
The Simon Diedon University of Business and Integrated Development Studies, SDDomo, with support from the Global Shea Alliance, have set out to plant a little over 70,000 tree seedlings to create a forest reserve and green the campus, with a first phase involving 5,000 different tree species to be planted along the campus borders. The tree planting saw a large crowd, including community members around the university, students, and management of the school. Vice Chancellor of SDDomo, Professor Emmanuel Kenchivedreble, was the first to plant the tree, and the rest followed suit. After planting the tree, he gave reasons why they are embarking on such a venture.
First, as you are aware, our land is on both sides of the highway, but we do not have the resources to wall the entire campus, as you are aware. But we need to secure the land for the growth and development of the university. So because of this, we are planting trees, in the buffer zone, but also along the boundaries of the university lands. By so doing, we hope to be able to create a forest belt, around, the university. We are designating certain portions of our land for future development. So, and in the interim, what we have decided to do is to plant some economic trees, like shea in particular. So we are hoping that the Global Shea Alliance, as we working together, would be releasing some both grafted, what are the categories? Conventional and then grafted shea trees, seedlings, which we will plant in these green areas.
Professor Dereble urged Ghanaians to cultivate the habit of tree planting in order to mitigate the impact of climate change. He observed that the response to climate change should be a collective responsibility for all.
We help to either slow down the rate of, the rate at which the world is warming up, and then the other multiplier effects. The other option, policy option, is the adaptation. Is the adaptation bit of it, and the adaptation, as you are aware, issues around livelihoods. It affects farmers, but also now health. When it is very hot, it is warm. You wake up, you don't do anything, and you're already tired. So it is having a negative impact on our lives, and then we all need to appreciate that the response to climate change has to be a collective response.
President of the Students' Representative Council, Festus Kekuofusu, called on the students to ensure that the trees planted are cared for.
This wouldn't all have not to end here. Students should also partake in ensuring that the trees we plant today are catered for, are monitored, such that they will get to the point where they are going to benefit all of us. And so, just as I said, it is so great, and I would admonish our students to join us to ensure that this initiative becomes a success.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Now, there's brewing tension in Effiduase, a town in the New Drabin traditional area, after armed police officers from the Police Intelligence Department stormed the palace of the Effiduase chief, Okatechi Opoku-Oware, in an attempt to take over the palace. This was after the chief of Effiduase announced that he had destooled the Effiduase chief for purported insubordination. Edwin Kofisian has more in this report.
The Effiduase chief, Okweriajumo Bebu, had accused Okatechi Opoku-Oware of insubordination. He claims the chief had disrespected him by refusing to grant courtesies to his linguist, who was on a mission sanctioned by him. However, the embattled chief claims he is being targeted after opposing the sale of some acres of public cemetery lands where COVID-19 victims were buried.
Aya Afidwaase hene baabi aye nyina ye si adehye eye Kofoduafo asokorefo Afidwaasefo yokofo ye nyina ye si adehye sabi nana no amanimu a COVID ba aye kura eho ne ye si omu nya COVID ni Aya Afidwaase hene ene ne dabra hene ene ne sana hene ena ne chiame akoton sa no ama mia me nana aye frano tawia wakoton sa no nam se mekua se hina no Afidwaase amempene amma baabi a yesie ya de hye sabi o hene nkonkoton nkodi.
Okatachi Opoku Ware urged the public to disregard the purported destoolment, assuring residents of his determination to protect public lands and resist what he describes as the indiscriminate sale of properties. On Sunday, some police officers acting under the command of Superintendent Eric Jebi reportedly fired gunshots amidst resistance from residents who support the chief's decision to oppose the sale of portions of the land. The Afidwaase chief's decision compelled the Ekwuase Bretu royal family to dismiss the destoolment, describing it as unlawful and without basis.
Ekwuase no enye ade a Afidwaase hene asabi Afidwaase owa obetimi atumi so ade sa atumi no amane akwanso wonni tumi bi ekura ne sa di me ka kire Afidwaase man ne say sabi menko ametumi nye di Afidwaase hene ti krom a ho ye ni
In Kwame Nyako, head of the Ekwuase family stool, declared that the Afidwaase hene holds no traditional authority to destool their chief.
Every time the skies darken over Ofanko, a sense of dread washes over the students of the St. Peter's Anglican School, not because of the lightning or thunder, but because they know what follows: water, lots of it, enough to turn their school compound into a pond and their classrooms into islands. My colleague Jacqueline Ansomayabua has more in this report.
It's just past 3 p.m. Wednesday in Ofanko, St. Peter's Anglican School, and it's quiet. According to some students we met, school had already closed. A few lingered, loitering around the compound. Others could be seen walking slowly home. Earlier that day, it had rained, and like clockwork, the school flooded again. In the center of the school's compound, a large stagnant pool of water sat quietly, stretching across what is supposed to be the playground. The ground beneath was soft and soggy with patches of mud swallowing bits of the once visible pavement. The signs of disruption were all too visible.
So currently I'm at St. Peter's Ofanko School, and what you can see behind me is a pool of water right in the middle of the school. These students, they are unable to even play during school hours. This is right in the middle of the school.
Though the rain had stopped hours ago, the aftershock remained. The school's main pathways were still drenched, making access to some classrooms difficult. In a few spots, water had begun seeping into the base of the classroom blocks. This is not a one-off occurrence. According to residents and some off-camera conversations with students, the school floods almost every time it rains. The playground has become a permanent pond. For years, this has gone on quietly with no intervention, no fix, no official word. But when we tried to film and capture what we saw, we were met with hostility. The assemblywoman for the area confronted us and demanded we stop filming. She insisted we had no right to document what was happening, even though this is a public school and a public issue. Still, what we saw speaks for itself. A basic school where learning must pause anytime it rains. A compound that transforms into a hazard zone. And children, already burdened with the challenges of a stretched public education system, left to navigate yet another crisis alone. It's a story many haven't heard, but for students of St. Peter's Anglican, it is one they live through rain after rain. As another rainy season looms, so that's the question. How long must these children wade through water just to learn? For Joy News, I'm Jacqueline Ansuma Yaboa.
And from there, let's settle now for our business updates. Let me serve you our lone story for this morning as the Executive Director for the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Insia, is predicting a boost in gas production in the coming days. This follows an agreement reached between the Government of Ghana, Jubilee and Trinidad, Enyenra and Ntome oil fields, partners to extend the license covering these areas to 2040. Reacting to the development, Benjamin Insia expressed hope the development would trigger cheaper domestic gas supply.
I think that is what Ghana wants, because if you look at the importation of gas from Nigeria into the production of power, because of the longer chain in terms of distribution or the transportation of these products from Nigeria, sometimes our WACOG becomes very higher. But if we do have the availability of gas locally, it also means that we may not rely on certain emergency fuel that we talk of. So it reduces our WACOG and ensures that end user tariffs becomes cheaper compared to what we're paying today. That is one. But beyond some of these, it is also likely going to push the LPG market to be a very affordable market, because 100% production is likely going to come from domestic sources, either than the 50 we are doing today. And if 100% is coming from domestic sources, what it also means is that the cost of this particular product is going to be cheaper, and that also fuels government agenda of clean cooking energy at the household level. So it is good. Now we are doing about 250 million standard cubic feet a day from the domestic source, with additions from Nigeria to power our thermal plants. And sometimes there are challenges with inflows. But if in future we are likely going to get additional 130 million standard cubic feet per day, it means that it supports our domestic production of power without even needing imports, and also even allows us to even export some to our neighboring countries to get a lot of revenue from these sources.
Well, that's how we cap off the news. But coming your way shortly is sports. And like I was sharing at the start of the show, it was an interesting weekend for me. I was rooting for Coco Gauff. She won at Roland Garros. I was rooting for Carlos Alcaraz, the Murcian. He won. And of course, I was rooting for Portugal. CR7 scored and Portugal won the UEFA Nations Cup. It was exciting for me. But of course, some football action coming your way in sports. Do stay.